Night fell heavily over a small suburban town in Texas. The old wooden house sat tucked in the empty lot, a flickering yellow light spilling through the window frame. Inside, the smell of cigarettes and whiskey blended into a haunting scent. John Miller, 55 years old, a former soldier who had fought in the Middle East, sat motionless in a worn armchair. On the table, empty bottle shells lay scattered like silent witnesses to a life on the run. His eyes were bloodshot, tired. The wall clock ticked regularly, each beat like a hammer blow to the mind. Suddenly, a violent chest pain struck. John crumpled, clutching his chest, breathing raggedly. "Damn it," he hissed through his teeth, sweat pouring down his forehead. He staggered, trying to reach for the phone on the table. His trembling finger missed. The phone fell to the floor. Its screen lit up, then went dark. John collapsed, lying motionless. His heart raced wildly, then suddenly stopped. In that moment, a biting silence filled the room. Only the ticking clock remained. Tick, tick. John gasped, eyes wide, mouth trying to cry out, but no sound came. A strange sensation spread through his body, both as if sinking into an abyss and as if floating up into the air. Then suddenly, he saw himself stand up, but his body still lay there, curled on the floor. What the hell is this?" His voice rang out clear, but it did not come from his mouth. He saw himself. A heavy body, pale green, lips turning purple, eyes half open, soulless. John panicked, backing away, but his legs had no feeling. Instead, he seemed to slide, suspended in the air. The sound changed. The clock suddenly sounded like rolling thunder, then fell silent. Everything sank into a deadly stillness. A strange white light began to pour into the room, but not from the lamp, nor from outside the window. It radiated from the void, gentle yet fierce, tender but piercingly chilling. John wanted to scream but could not. He only heard his heart. No, there was no longer a heartbeat, only an endless emptiness. Vague sounds echoed in his head, the screams of comrades from long ago, gunfire, the roar of bombs. Then mixed in were the cries of children, the voice of a woman calling his name in despair. "John! John!" He spun around but saw no one, only the dark room, his own corpse lying there, and the strange light carrying him away. An invisible pull dragged hard, as if a giant hand were pulling him from the ground. John struggled. No, I'm not ready. I haven't had time yet." His scream dissolved into the void. For a moment, he saw his whole life flash by like a fast-forwarded film, the blood-soaked battlefields, the faces of the dead, the disappointed look of his ex-wife, the tear of his little daughter. John wanted to reach out and hold on, but everything slipped away from him like sand through his fingers. The chest pain vanished. His body felt weightless. A feeling both peaceful and terrifying enveloped him. He looked down one last time. John Miller's body lay there, motionless. And in that brief moment, a sharp question pierced his heart. Is this really death? The silence in the room gradually deepened, and darkness swallowed everything. But then, as if someone rewound the film, everything suddenly flowed backward. The image of the motionless corpse on the floor vanished. Instead, memories surfaced. The past returned. John Miller was born in the countryside of Oklahoma in a poor working-class family. His father was a steel mill worker, his mother a librarian. John grew up with the sound of factory whistles, the smell of burnt metal, and summer afternoons spent wandering and catching grasshoppers in the fields. As a child, John dreamed of becoming a baseball player, but that dream quickly gave way to harsh reality. Incomplete schooling, family poverty, and the war out there, waiting for young men like him. When he turned 18, John enlisted. It was a decision that carried both the pride of youth and a desire to escape the clinging poverty. John gradually became a Marine. He underwent brutal training, then was deployed to the Middle East, participating in campaigns in Iraq and Afghanistan. Those years were hell. He witnessed comrades falling in his arms. He saw a village devastated by bombs. He heard the heart-wrenching cries of a mother who had lost her child. There were nights John would wake up in the tent, drenched in sweat, his hands still gripping his rifle as if afraid the enemy would strike. Once, while his unit marched through a ruined neighborhood, a roadside mine exploded. The blast made John's ears ring. Dust and smoke filled the air. When it cleared, he saw Mike, his closest friend, bloodied, eyes wide open but already gone. John screamed, clutching his friend's body, but it was all in vain. That moment etched itself into his mind for life. At 35, John was discharged. Returning to America, he brought medals, but also carried invisible wounds, PTSD. On the day of reunion, his wife, Sarah, hugged him tightly, tears welling. Their little daughter, only 5 years old, ran up, looking with clear eyes and calling, "Daddy, you're home." John bent down, holding his child, but instead of happiness, he felt his chest tighten. In those innocent eyes, he glimpsed the children on the battlefield, blood and panic. From then on, John became increasingly distant. He spoke little, smiled rarely, and often sat alone for hours in the dark. Sarah tried many times to pull him out of the abyss. "John, you're not on the battlefield anymore. You have a family here. Let the past sleep." John only shook his head, his eyes vacant. "The past never sleeps, Sarah. It lives in me every day." Nightmares became his companion. John often jerked awake in the night, gasping, cold sweat pouring. Once he shouted, mistaking Sarah for the enemy, almost striking her. Sarah held his hand, trembling. "You scare me, John. You need help." But John refused all therapy sessions and every piece of advice. He believed no one could understand him. Alcohol became the only medicine, from a few drinks. Before dinner, it gradually became a whole bottle each night. Finally, Sarah exhausted herself. She took their daughter and left, leaving a note on the table. "I still love you, but I can't continue like this. When you're ready to live, find us." John read it, tore the paper to pieces, then sat stunned all night. Time passed, and John lived quietly in a small house in Texas. He did some manual labor jobs, but quickly quit because of poor health and unstable mental state. Each day was the same. Wake up late, drink, smoke, sit staring out the window. At night, nightmares tore his sleep apart. Sometimes he told himself, maybe dying would be better than living like this. His heart ached abnormally many times. A doctor once warned, "You have heart disease. If you don't quit drinking and don't get treatment, one day you'll collapse." John only gave a bitter smile. Death isn't frightening. I've seen it hundreds of times, but deep down, he was still afraid. Not afraid of death, but afraid death would come before he could make peace with the past, before he could apologize to his daughter. A few weeks before the incident, John received a postcard from his daughter, now a final-year university student. The handwriting was neat and tidy. "Dad, I don't know if you'll read this letter. I just want you to know, I still hope one day you'll call me. I'm still waiting." John tremblingly held the card, his eyes blurring. He placed it on the table beside an old photo of the three of them, him, Sarah, and their daughter. That night, he drank more than usual, and then, as if fate had arranged it, the heart attack struck. In the darkness, John's soul stood silent. He watched his life just flash by like a reel of film. Those memories were not merely the past, but the sentence he had never escaped. And now, as his breath gradually faded, a heavy question hung suspended. Do I still have a chance to fix everything, or is this the end? The room sank into silence after the final ragged breath. John's heart had stopped beating, yet he still existed. He saw himself drifting, hovering on the ceiling. Below, his old body lay motionless on the floor. The face was purple, lips tightly pressed, eyes half closed, half open. A sight both familiar and strange. John wanted to shout, That's not me!" "I'm still here," but no sound came out. Only a vibration echoed in the void. He saw the wall clock. The second hand still moved in ticks, but the ticking sound had disappeared. The whole world seemed to have its sound strangled, leaving an eerie stillness. John tried to raise his hand to his face, but the hands were transparent, faint. When he touched the wall, his hand passed through as if touching smoke. "Oh, God," he whispered in his mind. "Am I dead?" Suddenly, familiar noises echoed from everywhere. gunfire, screams, the deafening chop of helicopter blades. The image changed before his eyes. It was no longer the house in Texas. He was standing in a ruined street in Baghdad. Black smoke rose, fire blazed violently, the acrid smell of gunpowder and burning flesh hit his nose. John was bewildered. No, this is just a memory. I left this place a long time ago. But the scene was too real. He saw Mike, his comrade, running toward him, then a boom. That shook the ground. Mike fell, blood spreading red. John rushed forward, kneeling beside his friend. He screamed, "Mike! Don't leave me. It's my fault. I should have gone first." But Mike only opened his mouth, no sound. Those eyes stared into him, both accusing and sorrowful. John trembled, tears pouring down. Sorry. The battlefield scene faded. Before John appeared a dark tunnel, endless in length. At the end of the path, a brilliant white light was radiating. He felt a powerful pull drawing him into it. His body felt weightless, as if having no weight. No, I don't want to go. John tried to cling to the void, but there was nothing to hold on to. A heartbeat. Thump, 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 thump. Suddenly sounded, but not from his body. It echoed from deep within the void. Each beat seemed to urge, "Go on, go on." He was gradually sucked toward the light. Within the light, a small figure appeared, a boy of about 10 years old, black trembling eyes, a face smeared with dirt. John recognized him immediately. That boy was the child he had accidentally shot during a raid years ago. That haunting image had tormented him for many years. The boy did not speak, only looked at him, eyes clear but sad. John knelt, trembling. "Child, forgive me. I didn't mean to. I was just a soldier. I was only following orders." The boy's eyes filled with tears. A small hand reached out, lightly touching his cheek. John felt a warmth run through his body. For the first time in many years, he no longer felt self-hatred, but something close to forgiveness. John continued to drift in the light. No more pain, no more burden. The sounds of bombs and screams all vanished. Instead, there was a distant melody, like a choral singing, full of peace. He inhaled, though he had no lungs, and smelled a sweet fragrance like wildflowers spreading. In a moment, John saw himself as small within the vast universe. All fear, hatred, and torment dissolved. But then, a question rang in his mind, like a voice from the void. Are you willing to let go and step into a place without suffering? John trembled. His heart, though stopped, still seemed to ache. The image of his daughter appeared. Childhood smiles, the postcard with the words, "Dad, I'm still waiting." No. John shook his head, shouting in his mind, "I'm not ready. I haven't told her that I love her." The light still carried him away, but inside, a small flame began to flare. The flame of the desire to live, the desire to be made right. John drifted through the tunnel of light, between the boundary of eternal peace and the unresolved remorse. Each vibration around him seemed like an urging, go on, or turn back. He knew the decision was drawing near. John continued drifting in the stream of light. The feeling was both relieved and anguished. The path before him opened like an endless sky, no longer bounded by space or time. A figure appeared in the light, at first fuzzy, then gradually clear. It was Mike, the comrade who had died before his eyes years ago. Mike still wore his uniform, his face as young as the last day they had met. No blood, no pain, only a gentle gaze and a faint smile. "John," Mike's voice sounded, not by mouth, but directly in the mind. "It's been a long time." John choked up. "Mike, I killed you. If I hadn't ordered us forward that day, you wouldn't have died." Mike placed his hand on his shoulder. The hand carried no fleshly sensation, but radiated a strange warmth. "No one killed me. It was war. I chose that path, just as you did. You cannot carry this burden forever." John bowed his head, tears welling. For years he had waited to hear precisely these words. The light suddenly expanded. Before John appeared a vast field, thousands of figures standing there. They were faces he had seen, comrades, civilians, enemies. Some smiled kindly, some looked at him with accusing eyes, and there were children like the boy from years ago. But no one spoke. All stood still, allowing him to face them. John felt his chest constrict. He shouted, "I do not deserve forgiveness. I have caused too much suffering." A deep, warm voice rang out, echoing through the space. Forgiveness is not permission, but liberation. Amid the sea of souls, another figure approached. A middle-aged woman, long hair, a gentle smile. John froze. It was his mother, who had died while he was still in service. "John," she called softly. "My son." He collapsed to his knees like a child. "Mother, I have failed. I destroyed the family. I am not worthy." The mother put her arms around him. The light emanating from her body enveloped John. "No one is perfect. You have gone astray, but you still have a chance. Your daughter needs you." Hearing this, John's heart seemed to awaken. The image of his daughter reappeared vividly, her expectant eyes, the line on the postcard. "Dad, I'm still waiting." The space brightened. A giant door of light opened ahead. From it emanated endless peace. No more suffering, no more war, no more tormenting memories. Mike smiled. "If you step into it, you will be at peace. There will be no burdens left." The mother gently held his hand. "But if you go back, it will be very painful. Your body is frail. You will have to face illness, loneliness, and the final years of life. But your daughter is still waiting for a word from you." John looked at both, tears streaming like rain. On one side was the peaceful light, on the other, the old painful world, but with an unfinished love. He shouted, "I cannot leave her alone. I must return." Immediately, the brilliant light before him closed. The whole space trembled. A strong whirlwind sucked him back. The heavenly singing vanished. Instead came the sound of chaotic heartbeats, the pounding of blood in the chest. John felt himself falling. Then, thud. He re-entered the body on the floor. A gasping breath burst from his throat. His eyes opened wide, a bewildered look, tears rolling down. John had just been given a second chance. Not to live forever, but to make amends, say words left unsaid, and love one last time. John's eyes flew open. His chest ached sharply, breath ragged, as if he had just run through an endless battle. His whole body trembled, his heart racing wildly. The familiar living room felt foreign. He heard the TV still broadcasting the news, the old photo on the wall, the worn-out armchair. Everything was still there, yet he felt as if he had just returned from another place, a place where words, light, and love were more real than anything he had ever known. John placed his hand on his chest, tears streaming down. "My God, I'm still alive." He struggled to sit up, each breath tearing through his lungs. On the table, his daughter's old postcard still lay there, the handwriting shaky but full of hope. "Dad, I'm still waiting." John picked it up, his hand trembling violently. In his mind echoed his mother's voice. "Your daughter needs you." He broke down, for the first time in decades. It was no longer the tears of a hardened soldier, but the tears of a father, of a man who had been given a second chance. His trembling hand lifted the phone. He searched for his daughter's number in the contacts, the one he had hesitated to dial countless times. This time, there was no hesitation. "Beep, beep, beep." A woman's voice came through on the other end. "Hello? Who is this?" John choked, swallowing his tears before he could speak. "It's Dad. I'm sorry for disappearing for so long, but I'm still alive, and I miss you." Silence on the other end for a few seconds, then sudden sobs. "Dad, I thought you would never call. I've been waiting." John pressed the phone to his chest, as if to embrace that voice. His tears flowed endlessly. "I won't leave you again. I promise." In the days that followed, John was no longer the same man. He still bore wounds of the body, old age, and nightmares that sometimes returned. But his heart had changed. He began writing a journal, recording the dream of light, Mike's face, his mother's embrace, and the decision to return for his daughter. He joined a veterans support group, sharing his story for the first time with others who had lived in the same darkness. Many wept when they heard John say, "We may never erase the memories of war. But I've learned that love, no matter how small, is strong enough to pull us back from the edge of death." Months later, John sat in the park with his daughter. The autumn air was cool, yellow leaves rustling down. She leaned her head on his shoulder and softly said, "I still can't believe you came back to me." John smiled, his gaze tender. "Neither can I, sweetheart. But perhaps sometimes we must wander all the way to the final edge before we realize where we truly belong." He looked up at the sky, where that golden light had once opened. A peaceful smile spread across his face. John's story was not a victory over death, but a victory over fear, guilt, and abandonment. He had returned to love once more, to apologize, and to turn the years he had left into a meaningful journey. And in every heartbeat, John could still hear the whisper, "You still have time. Live it fully." If you've ever experienced a moment that changed your life forever, share it in the comments below. Who knows, your story might touch another heart. Don't forget to follow the channel so you won't miss the next emotional journeys.